If you're a real estate agent and you're tired of cold calling, door knocking, and spending money on ads, then subscribe to this podcast. We discuss leveraging the power of YouTube for your real estate business and how these strategies earned us over $1 million in GCI our first year in real estate. My name is Levi Lascsak and my partner is Travis Plumb. Let's get started. And welcome. This is Passive Prospecting, YouTube for Real Estate. And today we are talking about protecting your money doesn't protect your income. It was funny because we were running the backstage event last month, which was a huge success. Went way better than I was ever expecting. And then we decided, well, let's run it again and see what happens if we run it back to back. So if you missed out last time, then go ahead and check and see if we've got an upcoming event for backstage.passiveprospecting.com. But we were asking for feedback. We got a lot of feedback during that session, and their feedback was that line I said, which I didn't even really realize I said it, but they said protecting your money doesn't protect your income. And what I was talking about there was I grew up in a very conservative environment, very conservative family, extremely conservative, and also very poor. So I did all of my shopping at garage sales. I was the third son, and my mom never worked. She stayed at home and took care of us. We ate every meal at home except after church on Sundays. We would go to the pizza place because they had a buffet. I would get $1 for video games. So, back then about $0.25 per game. So I could play about 4 games and that was it. I mean, that was a splurge for us. That was living large. I mean, for me, I always looked forward to going to the pizza place after church, especially growing up, sometimes more so than church, right? But otherwise, on Saturday mornings, usually if we weren't out, doing service with the church or something, then my mom would take me to garage sales, and that's where I got my clothes. I never had a brand new pair of shoes for the first day of school. None of that. But the thing was, I didn't have a bad childhood. I noticed other people always had nice clothes. They were talking about going to Fort Worth or Dallas to the mall. We never, ever went to a mall. Never, ever, ever. Never shopped at a department store. So I don't know. It just wasn't part of me growing up. But otherwise, I know anytime I asked for something, it was always, we can't afford that. We can't afford that. We can't afford that. And my dad pretty much worked a minimum wage job his entire life. He just retired at 70 to maximize his Social Security. And, God bless him, but that's just not what I want to do. Now, the funny thing is he actually got a small pension from this factory he worked at, but he never really made more than $35,000, maybe $40,000 in a year. But again, my parents lived extremely conservatively. My mom still drives it's like a 21-year-old Pontiac Grand Am or something. It's literally 21 years old, and she still drives that thing around. So it still runs, but very conservative. And so I grew up with that mindset, and I grew up with saving money, never ever spending anything. Don't put money with other people because they'll steal it from you. Don't trust. That was the way they looked at the world as well, which was kind of this mentality of everybody's out there to get you or to scam you or take advantage, something like that. So that was just embedded in my subconscious, I believe, because I didn't really think that. I didn't think anybody was out to get me, but at the same time, it put me in this position with money to where I wanted to hold on to it. I would make some money and I would want to save it, and I'd want to save it, and I would save it until like an emergency happened, and then luckily I'd have some money to pay for that. But I just never really seemed to get ahead. I never looked into investing early on. And I guess I did come across some opportunities. I heard about real estate investing early on in my early 20s, but I think I was just scared of the risk, and that little voice in the back of my head was still talking about, don't do it. You're going to lose your money. You're going to get taken advantage of, or all these limiting factors. So for me, I was always protecting my money. I was always trying to protect what I had. and not really take any risk or spend money or anything like that. And so, whenever I was explaining this to the class or the group when we were running that backstage session, because I got in deep. I got in deep on a lot of these things. And it wasn't until now, the reason we're scaling so quickly, now is because, number one, I got myself out of a lot of jobs. So I brought on the right team members, the right people, and that cost money. Sean Cannell always says that you need to hire before you're ready. You need to invest before you're ready sometimes. You need to spend money before you're ready. And so, growing up with that, plus also going through 3 major setbacks. I went through deployment to Iraq, and that set me back mentally and financially. I came back not without hardly with any money there. 8 years later, I got extremely sick. So physically, I got set back, but that also set me back financially whenever you become disabled when you're 33 years old. And then, of course, in 2020, I had a thriving business until the world shut down. And at that time, I had quite a bit of money and savings at that time, which really kind of fueled this whole opportunity right here. Because I don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast before, but over the summer of 2020, I had probably about $240,000, saved up, ready to go. And what I did know is over 2020 is I didn't want to get another job, and I didn't want to. Who was hiring anyways, right? Who was hiring in 2020? There's 30 million layoffs, but I also didn't know what did I want to do. And I had that money, and I said, you know what? I started to look into digital marketing, online marketing, internet marketing. I'd started my education on that because I'd realized too, well, I've always been a salesperson. I've always been really good at sales. I've always been really good at prospecting, and I've always been good at chasing after business. But at this time, again, I was 41 years old, and I was just tired of prospecting. I was tired of the chase because I just wanted to sit in front of somebody. I was like, whatever product or service I have, I would love to just get right to the conversation, versus chasing people down, making the calls, sending the emails, knocking on the doors. So is there a way that I could fast track all of the prospecting or make it passive prospecting? I didn't know that was the term at the time, but I was thinking, is there a way I could just kind of skip the line when it comes to prospecting? How could I just get in front of people for almost the very first time with little or no effort from myself? Is there a way or a system to do that? But at the same time, I didn't want to get into real estate. So over the summer of 2020, I literally spent all the money I had. All of that money, the $240,000 or so of cash that I had, I put all my chips in the middle of the table. I went all in because I just told myself I'm not going back. I don't know if my financial services business was not going to come back. I knew that was done. It was a closed door. Burn the boats on that one. There's that old story of the Spaniards or conquistadors or somebody that came ashore some country, and the captain made them burn all the boats because he said, we're either winning or we're gonna die. That was the two options. We're definitely not gonna retreat, get on those boats and sail across the ocean. So that's what burning the boats means, and that's what I did. And in summer of 2020, I invested in 2 different Amazon stores, and I invested in some coaching, and I invested in some courses. And that all pretty much ate up that money. I probably had about $20,000-$30,000 left, and that's what I was using for living expenses over that time period. But what I realized is that, okay, the Amazon stores were not going to play out. They were not going to give me a good return. And so I had to pivot, and I had to think, okay, what else was I going to do? I bought real estate investment courses because I didn't want to be a real estate agent. My friends are chirping in my ear to be a real estate agent, but I still did not want to be a real estate agent. So I was like, let me buy some real estate investment courses, and maybe I'll be an investor. And I had done it before. I was a part-time investor, had 7 rentals at one time. I'd done several fix and flips, but all on a part-time. I never earned a full-time income from it. So it was just, here or there that I did that. But what I realized in those investment courses is that they taught me how to cold call and door knock and create postcard campaigns. And basically you had to prospect. You have to prospect just like every other business, which it makes sense. So, I went all in on that. I think that just one thing led to another. I mean, it's ironic that I ended up really figuring out on YouTube you could do all of this for free, practically free, but I didn't have a lot of money whenever it came down to it, whenever I started YouTube. And thank God it's free, mostly. I mean, Chrissy was my first editor. She had been working with me already for several years on some of my previous companies, especially in financial services, helping me with social media management and things like that. And I just asked her, I said, hey, because I knew editing was not my strong suit. So that's number one, is that if you're not strong in a skill or something of that nature, or somebody that can do it 10 times faster than you have to invest that money. You have to figure out a way to make that work. So if you continually protect your money, your income is likely not going to grow. And that's what had happened to me over the last really 20 years, is every time I would build up and I protect my savings, then something would happen, some event out of my control, and I would just end up draining my savings anyways, instead of reinvesting that savings into something else to possibly flip to double or triple or maybe even 10x my money. So that's what I realized from starting this, is I said, you know what, I've got to start spending more money. As soon as I make money, it's all going to go right back out the door. I'm not going to save anything except what I can do for my living expenses. That was it. So that was my mentality coming into this, is I was thinking, I'm going to make changes, right? I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to protect my money, because what I realized is that protecting my money did not protect my income. I was always doing well. My best year was 2019, probably, where I did around $270,000 in income, but that was it, and I don't know if I could have really ever grown past that. I probably could have compounded, but financial services would have taken a lot longer. It would have taken probably another 10 years to really build that up. It was definitely a slow game. But again, I thought, you know what, as soon as I get into this, if I'm going to work on this video thing, editing, not my strong suit, first thing I need to do is hire somebody. So I asked Chrissy, can you edit? And she said, like she always does, oh yeah, I can do that, no problem. And she way undercharged me as well. So I was thankful for that, to edit the videos for me. So she started out as the first editor, and that was it. And then as soon as I started to work on everything, and I worked on everything as much as possible, because at this point I was out of money. I was out of money because I spent it all, and then my living expenses had pretty much eaten up what was left over. So I don't tell that story a lot. Sometimes I do on stage, depending on where I'm at and depending on the time I have. But by January, whenever I started this, I started December of 2020. By January of 2021, I had to apply for unemployment because I was completely out of money. Allow me to take a quick break to remind you that we have very important links in the description below. If you want the full story of how we closed over $1 million in commissions our first year and over $2.3 million in commissions our second year, check out the first link. Also, you have the link to our #1 Amazon best-selling book, Passive Prospecting. Last, if you enjoy this podcast and you're a giving person, leave a 5-star review, please. Now back to the episode. And I have the 1099 from the unemployment office, because it was the first time, I think it was around that time, January of 2021, it was the first time ever that the government approved unemployment for 1099 people. So I'd been 1099 for the last 5-6 years. And so, at that time, applying for unemployment was never an option. And this time, because of what happened, with the pandemic, it was the first time the government approved unemployment for 1099 workers. And I thought, you know what, I'm really thin right now, and I'm just going to apply and see what happens. And I did, and it wasn't much. It was like, I don't know, $1,700 a month or something. It wasn't really that much, but it was enough to pay the mortgage, pay a bill or two, and that did ease me up a little bit. But I was only on unemployment for about 90 days until I got that first deal under contract. Whenever I got that first deal under contract, I immediately canceled the unemployment and promised myself that was never going to happen again. And I have the pay stub. I show it from time to time, and it was about $7,600. So I collected it for about 3 or 4 months, I think. But it was enough just to help out a little bit and get me started and keep YouTube going, really, because otherwise I needed to pay Chrissy. And then I can't remember the next person that we brought on from there. But otherwise, it was something that I immediately started to outsource and started to spend that money. Whatever I had as well that came in, I immediately started to look at how do I deploy that back out into the business and expand. And that is a big reason why we've grown to where we've grown now, I believe, is because the first 2 years as well of this business is Travis and I just paid ourselves a $10,000 salary each, per month. We paid ourselves a $10,000 salary, and everything else we made went right back into the company, went into marketing, went into expanding, camera, people, whatever the case may be, whatever was the need at that time, we reinvested that money. And so for the first 2 years, just $10,000 a month, we set ourselves on that salary, and that was it. That was how we started to grow. And because we did that and threw all of our money back into it, it allowed us to expand to now where we have 3 companies, 3 different companies. We have probably, I don't know, Chrissy, 70 to 75 total team members, At least. Yeah. And yeah, a big majority of that is on the video editing side, because as a video editor can take care of 2 or 3 clients, and then we have to bring on another video editor. But we've got 10 agents on the real estate side. We've got assistants, and these are salaried assistants. We've got showing agents. We've got a couple of assistants on there as well. Client care manager, salaried, and then you look at passive prospecting, and we've got a COO, a CMO, we've got client care manager there. We've got editors in place for that company, so there's probably about we got salespeople in place, so there's probably about 10 to 15 people there. So that's about 25, and then we probably have about 50 people. Do you know the exact count we have in the agency? Is it about 50 people?
We have about 55 on right now. We have another 2 or 3 coming on in the next week.
Oh, there you go. All right. So, and so in totality, who we have on salary, around 75 people, it's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. But every time we do that and we invest in a person, a process, or a system or equipment, we know that that's allowing us to grow and to expand. And my income over the last couple of years has, dwarfed maybe the last 5, 10 years, depending on what you added up in there. And now with what we did over the last quarter in Q3 with the new initiatives that we put into place, some new goals and some strategic opportunities, we crushed on passive prospecting. We crushed our Q3 goal over 168%, and so now leading into Q4, it gives me a lot of confidence to where we're going to experience what we experienced last year. I'll say this, in passive prospecting, what we experienced last year, we just did in one quarter in Q3. And in Q4, we might be able to do that per month because of the right people in the right place, with bringing on a COO to run everything on the back end, which is helping free me up. Our CMO, which is amazing at copywriting and build outs for systems and things like that, handling that. And these 2 guys are like peas in a pod. They are like long lost cousins, so also that team synergy, that team culture really comes into effect as well. Gwyneth, our client care manager, is like through the moon about working with us. She absolutely loves it. Sometimes it worries me though. I'm like, really? Do you really like us that much? And she just raves how much. We just brought on a full-time graphic designer as well. So again, and we're just employing so many people and changing their lives, which is amazing. And so for what I'm seeing is that because I turned around and reinvested everything for the first 2 years has allowed us to grow so rapidly. And now, and then this year, I will say that our salary expanded past what we had been doing. Paying ourselves only $10,000 a month for 2 years straight allowed us to reinvest so much that this year we're able to, really double those, not double, but triple those salaries, and probably even more than that. And then this year, because we now have what we have in place for marketing and everything and the right people, and we're growing that, I'm able to take the excess. I'm still pretending like I live off of $10,000 a month, and that's what's allowed me to, dig into apartments and multifamily, which is something that I wanted to do this year. It was a goal of mine, and I'm about to close on my third deal this year. I had a goal at the beginning of this year for 500 doors. This third deal is going to put me at 619 doors, over 60 million in assets under management there. And I've been able to invest and be a part of that because of reinvesting and not protecting my money and reinvesting it into the company and into people and into systems and processes and equipment and everything that we felt could expand and has expanded our company and our companies, so that it frees up me. And now I'm able to get back to, I literally, this week was the first week that I've finally worked out a new schedule for myself, which if you looked at my calendar for the last year and a half, it was like nonstop meetings and traveling. And so, that's difficult to keep up with the content. I've been able to maintain the content throughout that time, but now this week, it was like one of those things. I think Alex Hermosi said this. Alex Hermosi said he doesn't take a meeting until 1 p.m. And then I was talking to Brent Gove. For those of you that know Brent Gove, we've developed a really good relationship, and he lives in Puerto Rico, but he's from California. So if you think about it, Puerto Rico is like even an hour or two ahead of New York, depending on daylight savings. But, for him, if he wants to touch base with his team in California, it'll be 1 p.m. in Puerto Rico. It may be, 9 a.m. or something like that, 8 or 9 a.m. in California. So like Brent was talking about, he doesn't start his day until 1 p.m. He does meetings from like 1 to 5 or 1 to 6, and then that's it. The whole morning he goes out and walks the beach, goes and plays golf, hangs out with the wife, and then he starts his day at 1 o'clock. And then I heard, Alex Hermosi talking about he gets up at 4:30, and by 5 a.m. he's working until 12. And so he puts in a good 8-hour day by noon without any meetings, and then he'll take his first meeting or something around 1 p.m. And I just thought, what? For me to get back into deep work, deep planning, allowing some time to think, that's the thing, is that if you're not allowing yourself some time to think, then you're just going to get caught up in the processes. You're going to get caught up in just doing the same thing over and over again. And that's the point I was at. And so, we were gone all last week. It's the first time I've gone to 3 conferences in 1 week. So it was a lot. I got to speak at 2 of them. I got to speak twice at EXP Con, and then I got to speak at WealthCon with Ryan Pineda, which is a huge opportunity. Super blessed for that. And then came back, and we had an event in Dallas, and we ended up going to dinner afterwards with Gary V, Jesse Itzler, Bradley, Ryan Pineda, and Neil Dangriga, I think that's his last name. He's known as Neil Home on social. And, so I'm sitting there at this dinner right across looking at Bradley, talking to Jesse Itzler, Gary V's there hanging out. We're just chopping it up, and I'm like, wow. But I'm gone that whole week, and that's a lot to just take off that time to really work. I mean, that's a lot of work. But at the same time, this week now, I pretty much have every morning blocked off until, no meetings until 1 p.m. And, I talked to the team about this, and I'm just like, look, I'm going to shift any meetings that we have in the mornings, they're going to the afternoon, and only really on Mondays and Thursdays. So now I've positioned to where I'm only going to do meetings on Mondays and Thursdays, and I'm leaving my mornings open for planning. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, actually planning. Tomorrow, Wednesday, I'll shoot content in the morning, because that's the other thing, is I'm working on trying not to work all the time, because, if you're out at a conference all week and then you're like, okay, well, do I have to go out on Saturday now and shoot some content? And I don't want to do that. I'd rather shoot content on Wednesday morning And that way I'm done with that. Friday, if we want to shoot longer form content, we can go out and do that. But now I'm being able to take back control of my schedule, and within 2.5, just under 3 years of starting, 3 different companies and going through the growth and everything that we're going through, I'm able to capture back my schedule to a point to where now I know I'm confident in the team, the right people in place, the right systems, the right processes. And I got to get back to what I did before, what started all this in the first place. What started all this in the first place was me having time to work on my content, to think about it, to research, to plan it out a little bit better. And now recently I've just been blowing and going and really making a lot of stuff on the fly, not a lot of thought, just off the cuff, and which it's done well. And it's sustained our businesses as well. So, I mean, it hasn't been a bad thing, but at the same time, I know I can do better. And that's the position I want to be in. And we've learned a lot of that from the consultants that we've hired on as well. We work with a consultant right now, cost us $4,400 a month. That's a strong investment to make into it. But these guys they've been pushing on me and working on me to get me out of the business. I mean, which is great. And I'm like, okay, and you struggle with that for the first quarter or two. And now I'm like, my God, can I get rid of everything? I just want to get rid of everything and just get back to researching and studying and making content, really, really good content is what I want to focus on. Same thing with Travis. We've got to work on, we want to work on getting him out of production so that we can just have him work on higher skilled opportunities. But YouTube leads are easy. So right now, if he's taking those YouTube leads and he is working them, then that's easy money for the company, right? And we don't have to split that with anybody. So, at the same time, we've got to, let me see if I can bring up my good friend Rogelio. So just something to keep in mind is that there's a lot going there. But the point that I'm getting to is that, and Tuesday afternoons, by the way, of course, and that's why I moved this podcast now to Tuesday afternoons instead of Tuesday mornings, because I would get going or working on something, and then I would start this at 10:30, get done at 11:30, and then I'd be like, okay, it's time for lunch. And so it was kind of like right in the middle of the morning. So I'm like, well, I can control this. I control this schedule. I'll just move this to the afternoon. And then also, if we want to do a live for our YouTube channel, we can do that right after this. And so, Tuesday can kind of be my live content day. Wednesday can be my recorded content day. Monday mornings can be research time. And then Friday all day I have blocked for if I want to go out with Alex and we want to make very specific long form content. And so I'm positioning myself to where I have that time, that free time in the mornings to really work on the things that I want to work on. And what's funny is this is the first week I've been able to do that, and I pretty much did that yesterday and today in the morning. But the other thing is what I'm realizing, I'm really going to have to turn off all notifications, everything. Almost, you got to go in almost blackout mode if you really don't want to be disturbed, because what happens, I start getting messages, or to my own fault, I look over and I see a message, so I read it from the team. Our team is very active in WhatsApp. we have like 8 different group chats going on in WhatsApp for all of our different departments or things we're working on, all the way from the companies down to graphic design, down to client care, down to the social crew, so depending on who's in that group, there's a lot of communication going on. It's easy to look over and get caught up. A lot of times if I get to work, I'll look up 30 minutes later and there's 30 messages in one thread. So then then I'll go in there and have to read through that. But otherwise, that's what I'm going to have to work on, is being present in what I'm doing and not letting the notifications and everything get to me on there. And so I'll work on getting better. But otherwise, I would say Monday, Tuesday, a really good start. I was able to have some great meetings in the afternoon. I didn't feel so rushed in the morning. I was able to watch YouTube videos and take notes. That's something that I haven't done in a little while. It's one thing to watch YouTube videos. It's another thing to stop and take notes and, look at what you can apply. And so with some new strategies that we want to implement, I mean, I want to look out there and see what's going on. Who's already making it work, and what can I learn from that? And so I can help develop a strategy based off of what I learn, and also with what I want to grow from there as well. So it's just something to keep in mind, and being able to expand that way is what's allowing me to get back to this now and still have companies that are producing really good results, and also probably going to be even better now because I've got the right people in place working on specific things for those companies, and really kind of taking over and taking charge of them. And ideally, where I see us going is that we're going to have to bring in probably like a CEO over all three companies, and somebody that can really, it has to be dialed in though, and make some good decisions for us and for the companies. That would be key. And so that would be one of the positions we'll be looking at in the future, and I'm excited about that because that will help free us up even more. So I just wanted to, let me see, is nothing in the chat. Hopefully y'all can hear me. Oh my goodness, I've been talking this whole time.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I would have told you if we couldn't.
The chat's kind of quiet, so I guess no questions so far, but that's okay. My man Rogelio, how are you, buddy?
You know what, Levi, I'm doing great, and hopefully you can hear me because I'm driving, but just a couple of comments. Actually, no, you know what? So, Levi, have you ever considered, I know this sounds a little odd and probably not the way you monetize, channels, but have you ever considered taking equity in some of the channels that you're helping to, create with your partners?
I have, yes. Do you want to dig down deeper on that?
Yeah, and the only reason why is because someone that you and I know on this app, and I won't mention their name only because they said, you know what, please don't tell anybody, keep this to yourself. And I said, all right, I'll keep it to myself. That's why I'm not going to mention his name. But literally, he is probably next to you, the most brilliant person that I met on this app. What he did is, he's a real estate agent. His business is really dynamic, and his channel on TikTok, on TikTok, it got really, really big. And then what he did is he started asking, his advertisers for equity instead of money, to send the audience to them. And it's actually worked out, and it was impressive. I did not know that you're at like 600 and something doors. And that's what actually got me to think, oh, I wonder if Levi's doing that. So think of him. He now has equity in 200 businesses. 200 businesses. So it's kind of like your doors. And if you're already considering that, or if you're already doing that, that's amazing, because you know what? I've never heard of anybody leveraging their channel like that. I mean, that is like freaking incredible. So if you're doing that, that's genius. And then the last thing is, are you free on Wednesday, November 22nd?
What happens on the 22nd?
So that's ADU America number 3. That's my event. For those of you listening to the sound of my voice, if you know anything about events, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving is the second most popular day to throw an event. So the first one is New Year's Eve. So if you throw an event on New Year's Eve, you're going to have people. The second most popular day is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and that's because everything shuts down. Everybody shuts down for 4 days, right? To eat turkey, to then shop, and then the next 2 days to just veg and watch football or just be with family, and then back at it on Monday. So that Wednesday is a great day for people to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to cheat now for 4 days, or actually I'm going to enjoy myself for 4 days. So on this day, Wednesday, it's like my Friday, and it's my last hurrah. Anyways, Levi, I'd love to have you speak at the event. It's in San Diego, specifically in Logan Heights. Logan Heights in San Diego is the artist district. That's where all of the development is happening, meaning all of the gentrification. The venue is the Soap Factory. It's 1 acre. It's open air. It's beautiful, like 1 acre open air. At the end of the property, there's a 16-unit apartment complex made 100% from shipping containers.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, appreciate the invite, my man. And I'll have to check. We might be actually running something that week, but I'll have to get back to you. But I appreciate the opportunity. And as far as equity, I don't know. We've looked at that as equity in channels just to help people at the same time. I don't know. I struggled with that a little bit just because people have to do the work, and the problem with that initially, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to it going forward, but initially a channel takes work. I mean, plain and simple. I know what happens is a lot of people think that, or maybe we make it look easy, but that's because you're watching what we've accomplished over a couple of years now. And anything looks easy whenever you see somebody that's been working on something for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, right? They're like, oh man, they make that look easy. But guess what? Man, the first 6 months, 12 months, year and a half, I mean, it's a lot of work. And it's still, we're still trying to improve that process. And my concern with partnering up with people is I know how I work and I know what I will put into it. But if I don't know that person and we just work with, random person, then we have no idea what they're going to do. And that's the challenge that I would face, is that if I give you 100% and you give me 10% and then quit, I mean, it's a huge waste of time, really. It's not even really about the money for me. It's more of the time that would be lost into that. So, now if somebody has an established channel and they are consistent and are turning over some business, I would probably be more inclined to partner with somebody that has a little bit of a track record on consistency. That would probably make more sense. But at the same time, the other challenge with that is that, after a year, 2, 3 years, I mean, people also get, I mean, that's where partnerships, or that's where equity ownership too can get a little hazy, right? Because then some people will start to say, well, man, we've got a smooth running machine. And the thing is like, you could help somebody put in all the systems and processes, get everything working and get it to where it works on autopilot. And then they're going to go, oh, wait a second, I'm still paying you like 10, 20, 25%. That's not really fair. And they easily forget all that time, energy, and effort you put up front, and maybe they wouldn't be at the results they're at now without you putting that in place. And so memory starts to become a little bit faded. And so it's one of those things where, hey, I'm not opposed to it. I know that there's an opportunity there. We're working on something right now, a new project. I can't say what it is, and it could be 3, 6, or 9 months before this project comes to fruition. And it is, in my opinion, the best way we could ever partner with people and remove a lot of concerns, objections, fear. I mean, it really solves so many problems, and especially that problem, which is the equity and the ownership, and then that sort of thing. So we are working on a project right now, and I'm more inclined to continue working on that, to where I just don't know if it's going to work out, but we will know in 3, 6, or 9 months. But that's the thing, is like, when you really want to work on something, I worked on the channel for 7 months without a paycheck. Whenever you count the research, the filming that I did, 3 months before, ahead of time. I usually start the story when I publish the first video, but there was about 90 days worth of work ahead of time, pre-work that I did for free, and then it still took another 90 days to get the first deal under contract, and then another 30 days for it to close. So that was 7 months on the channel with no paycheck. All right, not a lot of people are going to stick with that. A lot of people are going to quit somewhere within that 7-month time frame. So all of that is challenging. I have absolutely thought about it. It's a great question, Rogelio, and I'm just I'm torn because I would love to partner with people. I would love to help people, but I also know their memory fades quickly, despite how much money they're making, and so that makes it a challenge. But also, I don't want to put in the work for 2, 3, 4, 5 months and then somebody quits. That would just be devastating. So that's the other problem with it. But I know with what we're working on now, it's one of the most exciting things that I've had the chance to look at, and I hope it works a lot sooner rather than later, so we can come out with it and see how we can help other people, and it's a game changer. So, but otherwise, I'll have to get back with you on the 22nd. I'm always open for a trip to San Diego. That's always I would always love to do that, but I'll just have to check the calendar, my man. Let me see.
I do have one more, and the other one is, I don't know if anybody does this, but for lead generation, landing pages are very common, right? So someone will do and they'll be like geographic based, like roofer in Milwaukee, Minnesota, right? And they'll generate a bunch of leads, and then what they do is they literally sell the leads to a local business. I don't know. Has anyone done something like that on YouTube? Meaning where, say, I think Dallas, from what I remember, you're in Texas. So Anchorage, Alaska. I'm just reaching, right? So you start up a YouTube channel that is all about Anchorage, Alaska, right? And that channel starts to generate leads. And those leads, then you actually then start to sell those leads to those local, merchants in Anchorage, Alaska. Does that kind of model exist? And if it does, then I guess I'm just late to the party.
How are you driving leads to the landing page?
So I'm not doing this. It's just something that I discovered, and there's a bunch of people. I mean, wow, I didn't know that this world even existed, but there's people that literally just buy the right local domain, right? So they use Google, they use some kind of tool in Google, and it gives them like how many hits, like these words have been used with this city. Then they literally do a landing page with that, and they get traffic, and then they just start selling them, and the value of them goes up with the more traffic that they get. I just didn't know if somebody does that on YouTube. I'm just thinking out loud right now.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people do that. Marketing agencies will do that, right? They'll run ads or write SEO articles or websites or things like that, and just drive traffic to the landing pages, and then turn around and sell it to chiropractors or roofers or things like that. So, that's most general marketing agencies that cover a lot of different professions. If they know how to run ads or write copy or write SEO articles, that's the name of the game right there. So I do know people that do that all the time. For me, I'm working on just driving real estate leads, and we are doing that through SEO through blogs and videos, a combination of both. So we are driving that traffic, but it's one thing, you've got to if you drive the traffic to another area, again, kind of talking back to partnering with people, you have to have a reliable agent. That's the thing. You've got to have a reliable agent in that area. And so it, again, can present a challenge, but challenges can be overcome. And it's just one of those things where I think you could, but I would always focus on generating my own business for my own company through my own channel first before I would look at trying to branch off in those areas. Make sense, my friend?
Yeah, it makes sense. I was asking in a very generic term so that I don't, sabotage the conversation. But, in the ADU space, that's definitely that's going to be our new marketing strategy in 2024 because, yeah, in California, we've now dominated California. So we're up to 343 units this year, and we'll be up to 1,000 just in California. So it's kind of pretty impressive to say that, we built 343 houses in someone's backyard. So, we're going to start doing what I just said, but on a national level. And, because the ADU business is humongous. It's still in its infancy stage. 9 out of 10 people still don't understand what an ADU is, which is still it amazes me. But the 1 or the 10% that do, they're just running with it like crazy. But yeah, but thank you, Levi.
Yeah, I'd definitely make an ADU YouTube channel. I know that. If I were you. Do you have an ADU YouTube channel?
So, because I'm the one that's buying up the companies, so the companies that I'm buying do have their own YouTube channel, massive Instagram accounts. The ADU builders in Southern California, they are marketing like on steroids. So, I just bought one that, has 65 million in ARs just in 2023. So yeah, every company that is on my radar, because I want to be the guy in the background. I don't want to be the guy in the forefront. All of the ADU companies have like the perfect website, funnel website, a crazy Instagram account with like 30,000 plus followers, tons of hits or impressions on their YouTube. So yeah, they're like a full service. Where they're lacking is the executing of the actual construction job. That's where they're hurting, meaning they have too much business. So that's their pain point, and that's what I'm there to clean up and help them up. And by doing that, that's how I'm able to partner with them.
Yep. Sounds like a plan to me. I'd definitely be going after that if I had the YouTube channel there. But I appreciate you, man, as always. And I will open it up. Let me see. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Nobody else. So I think for me, Chrissy, do you want to add anything into protecting your money doesn't protect your income?
Yeah, I would just say when it comes to expanding yourself through other people, I would say that's probably the number one thing that's going to make you grow. And you have to start before you're ready. I'll tell you, with the editing agency, hiring my first hire was one of the most terrifying things I'd ever done. And I felt like I wasn't ready. Emotionally, I wasn't ready to hand over the brand to somebody else because it was my baby. I still struggle with that from time to time. We just brought on a graphic designer. All of the designs up to this point have been my baby. And so, expanding myself and allowing other people to help us grow, that's going to probably be one of those painful growing experiences for you, but it will pay off in droves. You'll get 10 times the return when you allow other people to expand. And what you need to also recognize that at the very beginning, when you're bringing new people onto your team, you're delegating some of your tasks to other people on your team. Know that 75% of what you're going to be transferring to them is skill-based. The other 25% you can train. So if that person isn't perfect coming into the game, you don't have to worry. 25% of that, you have the ability to train them up and make them exactly who you need them to be on your team. So just allow yourself to have some mistakes at the beginning. Start before you're ready, and it will pay off big time for you.
All right, sounds good. I think that's a wrap for today. So hopefully you found some value in that. Not really much about YouTube, but more about just growing your YouTube business, or any business really for that matter. But it's just something to, now don't go blowing all your money. That's a key factor as well. But invest it wisely. back into your skill set, back into marketing. And I think those are two of the most important things. I mean, we invested in coaches and some mentors and conferences, because everything I learned over the last couple of years really compounded as well. And Peggy, hey Peggy, good to see you down there. Good to always have you in here, Peggy. Good to see you. And sorry we couldn't connect at WealthCon. Was looking forward to chatting with you, my man Solomon. How you doing? Sandy, Jason, Alex, Kelsey, Jessica, and many, many more. So thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next week. Thank you for joining us on today's podcast. If you're interested in partnering with us to access our YouTube course and coaching at no cost, schedule a call at passiveprospectingpartner.com.